Hey there, welcome back to the vlog. So today I want to talk about cryptocurrencies. I had a conversation earlier in the day with Don Curran, who is a journalist, he's ex-Wall Street Journal, what else is he, Reuters, anyway, long story short, does a lot of financial stuff covering taxes, banks and whatnot. And there was a talk about cryptocurrencies, and in a nutshell, I want to sort of go over some of the thought process that I was talking to him about today on Twitter. So there are a lot of people who are reporters or financial people, and they have an old way of looking at stuff, and sometimes I think they're overlooking what's really going on, or at least large aspects of what's actually going on. As with a lot of technology, it's democratizing something that was, previously somebody else's power. So let's say, for instance, now I can order stuff, I can get stuff delivered, I can do things like, have my will made, I can, get stuff printed, I can sell books and do all this stuff, and I don't need to involve anybody other than myself. Like, I literally just go into a website and the service can do whatever it is I need to do. And the same sort of logic can be applied to cryptocurrencies. Like, if you've ever looked at how cryptocurrencies and the blockchain and all this type of technology was designed, it was designed to basically remove power from any one particular person. And of course, this is worrying to the banks and the governments, because if they're not in charge of the money, then what role do they have to play in the control of the money? But what I latched onto was a phrase that was said, and it was something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing here, it was something along the lines of that cryptocurrencies have no intrinsic value. Now, yes and no. I mean, you can make anything have no value. Somebody who's flying to Mars on a one-way trip, give them $1 billion as they jump onto the rocket, it has no value to them. It's not like they can spend it once they get to Mars. So, like, anything can be made to have no value. And cryptocurrencies is the same. But there is still, I think, a bigger value than the actual value of the money. And that is, the shift of power and the shift of control and everything else. Like, that comes first. The classical monetary value comes second. And I think a lot of non-technical people are missing that point. Yes, there are a lot of people that are riding the wave at the moment from the monetary value, so that they can basically build up a asset and then sell it and convert back to fiat currency. But that's like, one Bitcoin is still one Bitcoin. It doesn't matter what it is in the other currency, the same as 1 ounce of gold is still 1 ounce of gold. Like, it's just another commodity. And I think, like, trying to treat it any different is, a mistake, but at the same time, remember that this is a technical one, it's a virtual one, and every time technology gets into a new field, the first thing it does is it democratizes it. Like, there are so many things that in the old days you would have to go and pay somebody to have or obtain that now you can just get for free. And I think the same thing is going to happen when it comes to the blockchain and cryptocurrencies and all this type of stuff. Once the governments have stopped freaking out about it, like, every time a new technology comes along, people freak out. I mean, it doesn't matter if it was when the train was invented, people thought that bodies were going to melt or something if it went over like 30 miles an hour. And of course, then after they freaked out about video games in the 70s and what it was going to do to kids, they realized in the 80s and 90s that some of these kids have really fast reaction times, and maybe this was a good way of training people up to go into the military. Like, there are lots of ways that once time has passed, it gets readopted in a different fashion, but that's not how it was when it first came out. And another thing also, just to add to this, traditional money, there was a value to it because you had to do work in order to get the money. And so let's say, for instance, an ounce of gold, well, the reason it cost so much was you have to shift like tons and tons of earth on average in order to get a nugget of gold. So you had to work for it, and therefore it was worth a lot of money. Same thing with silver. And there was always an approximate ratio of what something was worth to those commodities. When Bitcoin was created, the same process happened. It was like, your computer has to do a certain amount of work in order to get the Bitcoin. It's almost like the classical financial people are just totally overlooking that standpoint. Even though it was created to mimic that idea, it seems to have been overlooked. So it's just a quick one today. If you like these types of videos, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, thumbs down. If you want to see more, please hit subscribe, and speak to you soon. Bye.